On News2, Juan Luis Hospital officials and their legal team made their case before Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services in Baltimore. We'll have an update. Also, beneficiaries of SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, will be getting a slight increase in annual benefits. Plus, as we continue our Breast Cancer Awareness Month recognition, a closer look at fighting cancer as a patient undergoing treatment shares her story. Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News2. I'm Sandra Gomansing. Topping on Newscast tonight, the wait has begun to find out whether Juan Luis Hospital will lose its certification this week. Juan F. Luis administrators and their legal team met with officials from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services on Friday. CMS promised to have an answer this week. News2's Erica Parsons has more.
Congresswoman Donna Christensen is optimistic after a meeting Friday between CMS and Juan Luis Hospital officials.
The presentations were very, very good and very reassuring to hear the work that has been done.
Christensen helped arrange Friday's meeting with CMS, which was JFL's last effort to avoid losing its certification on October 9th.
They were not even looking for a corrective action plan, but they listened, and I think that's positive. One, they agreed to meet. Two, they listened and asked very pointed questions to the JFL administration, and I think a good case was made.
The hospital will lose roughly $2 million a month in reimbursements if it's decertified. The delegate participated in the meeting by phone but holds no illusions that Friday's presentation is a fix-all.
The question is, can they sustain it?
Juan Luis officials weren't available for comment, but they issued a press statement Saturday outlining some of the points they presented. Congresswoman Christensen also issued a statement calling for proper funding of the hospital.
Some of it is dependent on whether the funding that the hospital needs to put some consultants in place and to purchase certain equipment to make sure that their processes are electronic.
Helping the hospital may now lay squarely on the shoulders of the government to fund JFL's efforts towards sustainability.
The issue over how the dialysis unit was turned around, I think, was a very positive example to show that the hospital has the capability of turning things around and making it sustainable. But still, questions remain.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Christensen says Juan F. Luis having a full board would also help. She says CMS continues to be in talks with hospital officials, the governor's office, and the delegate's office. Well, during the session where the legislature approved the health insurance policy for Virgin Islands government employees, retirees, and their dependents, Senator Tregenza Roach proposed how they can avoid endangering the insurance policies of thousands of residents in the future. Roach suggested that the legislature be given no less than 30 days to review a new policy or a renewal, and that if funding is approved, that the Senate be authorized to adopt the contract if the governor and the GESC board ever come to an impasse again. Beneficiaries of SNAP, previously known as food stamps, will be getting a slight increase in benefits. According to the Department of Human Services, rising costs of living drove the benefits increase of $17 every month. The benefits will start to take effect on Wednesday. Human Services reminds the community that SNAP benefits are only for the purchase of food and not to be exchanged for cash.
Because inflation and things are getting more and more expensive to buy food. For example, for a family of 4, they receive the maximum. The benefits will increase from $632 to $649 every month. Once a month, they will get an increase of that amount. The SNAP program has shown a case to increase since 2009. There's never been a year in which we had a decrease.
Well, it's time for our recognition of breast cancer. Maureen heard the words, "You have cancer," and she said it didn't have to mean a death sentence, and that's the message she wants to share. And here is her story. Maureen Vinzen is a healthcare provider. As the chief operating officer at St. Thomas East End Medical Center, she has seen many patients diagnosed with cancer, but she never thought that she would be on that list.
I had a biopsy probably about 12 years ago And that was a situation where I actually called my doctor in the middle of the night and said, hey, I'm feeling a lump.
She had a biopsy that proved benign, then 6 or 7 years later, another. But then the third time, she felt a lump, and this time it was different.
It was like a little marble, like a pebble or something of that nature. It happened to be 2 weeks before I was going to have my annual mammography done. And so I really didn't worry about it, even though I did talk to my gynecologist here and say, you know, should I really be alarmed with this? Because this will be like my third time having found a lump in my breast. And she said, well, you have to be cautious and check each time this occurs.
Immediately after receiving the harsh news, she had to make a decision on what procedure she would choose.
So I chose to do a lumpectomy. At that time, they were predicting that I would only need radiation. Once they received the results of the biopsy, I was told that it was a little bit more aggressive than they had anticipated. People asked, what is chemotherapy like? I will say that I've been told that I did very well because I didn't have any major side effects. One thing that I would say is it's a tiring process because you're sitting in a chair for half a day.
Now, Maureen feels it's necessary to share her story, as well as the importance of early detection.
I found out that it was a lot in my family, but people had kept it secret. My aunt had it, and my other aunt had it, and then it's like, well, nobody told me. Things happen to your body, and people need to be mindful of how they speak to people who may be going through a period like this. You know, nobody knows your body like you know your body. So if you feel anything that's out of the ordinary, I would always say take it to the physician and let them know. They will check it out, and the earlier they do it, the better it is for you.
Now, Maureen did her last chemotherapy treatment a few weeks ago on September 16th, and she is doing well. She is now preparing for radiation, and we thank her for sharing her story. The University of the Virgin Islands Caribbean Exploratory Research Center will be holding their 7th annual Health Disparities Institute from October 8th to the 10th at the Marriott Frenchman's Reef and Morningstar Beach Resort on St. Thomas. The theme this year is a 2020 vision for addressing and eliminating health disparities in special and vulnerable populations in the U.S. Virgin Islands and beyond. Health disparities are particular types of health differences that are closely linked with social, economic, and/or environmental disadvantage. This year's institute will feature 4 major keynote presentations, including Dr. Derek Griffith of Vanderbilt University, who will discuss the topic of addressing health disparities for males in the USVI and wider Caribbean. Well, turning our attention overseas, 33-year-old Ashoka Mokpo arrived at Omaha's Eppley Airfield this morning, transported to the Nebraska Medical Center, where he will be treated for Ebola in isolation. The freelance cameraman became infected with the virus last week while working for NBC in Liberia. But late Sunday, the CDC confirmed he does not have the virus. In other news, ousted Haitian dictator Jean-Claude Duvalier has died. He became president of Haiti in 1971 at 19 after the death of his father, Francois Duvalier. Duvalier's 15-year rule came to an end in 1986 after an uprising. He left Haiti with his wife and exiled himself to France. In 2011, Duvalier was charged with corruption, theft, and misappropriation of funds. Keeping our eye on the economy, this morning, Hewlett-Packard announced it is splitting into 2 separate companies. One will sell HPs, personal computers, and printers, and the second company will focus on technology services when it comes to donating, in other news, to charity, poor and middle class. Americans are giving a larger share of their income, while the wealthiest are cutting back. That's according to the Chronicle of Philanthropy. Utah residents are the most generous, according to the study. Here's a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. The Dow, NASDAQ, S&P all down. The Dow 17, NASDAQ 20, S&P 3. Coming up on News 2, it is Fire Prevention Week. The theme, Working Smoke Alarms Saves Lives. Test yours every month. Find out what the fire department has in store for the annual recognition. Plus, It's all about togetherness. Highlights from the VIPR Friendship Fun Day on St. Croix. Governor John DeYoung gathered some agency and department heads on Thursday to talk about the exact roles of emergency first responders in the transportation of dead bodies on St. John. Officials of the Attorney General's office led that discussion. Among those present were Health Commissioner Darice Plaskett, EMS Coordinator David Sweeney, Territorial Medical Director Mark Jerome, Police Commissioner Rodney Carrad, and representatives of both VITEMA and the VI Fire Services. A release from Government House states that the Medical Examiner's Office is responsible for accepting the deceased in all situations. According to Governor DeYoung, the government is reaching out to St. John Rescue to consider a contract that would involve them in the process, since the group already has the trained personnel and the needed equipment. News 2 will keep you updated. Well, Governor John DeYoung proclaimed this week, October 5th to the 11th, as Fire Prevention Week in the USVI. The National Fire Protection Association has designated the theme, Working Smoke Alarms Save Lives, Test Yours, every month. Darrell George of VI Fire Services says they have many events planned this year for the observance. This past weekend was the kickoff with a jamboree held at Tutu Park Mall, Lockhart Shopping Center, and Home Depot parking lot. And Sunday, there was even a mass for the firefighters.
Tomorrow is Tuesday, the 7th, is going to be Senior Appreciation Day, where we'll go to all the senior citizen homes, visit and give presentation. On Wednesday, October 8th, we'll be having a jamboree on St. John with Winston Wells Ballpark, beginning at 10 o'clock. And then on Thursday, we have a big jamboree at Lionel Roberts Stadium, beginning from 10 to 12. This is a spectacular event this year. We're going to have a host of different and some surprises. On Friday, we have open house at Alder Fire Station, and then a big family fun day at Griffith Park, with beginning with a parade from Emancipation Garden to Griffith Park, beginning at 5:30. Then the big fireman competition, basketball game, food, entertainment, a small little parade, bouncers, face painting, food and drinks. And then we have the closeout on Sunday at Megan's Bay, where we'll be celebrating our family fun day.
Now, today, over 200 students at Lockhart Elementary School enjoyed the firefighters' presentations, as well as other schools in the St. Thomas St. John district. Well, following the exposure of a manipulated bidding scheme and other discrepancies in how property auctions are held within the Lieutenant Governor's office, Senator Myron D. Jackson is pushing for an amendment that would help correct the situation. Amendment number 30-425 is intended to reduce the potential for fraud, according to Jackson. He says his amendment would compel the Lieutenant Governor's office to assess delinquent property, determine its potential use to the community, and submit that information to the governor and the legislature. WAPA and Vital Virgin Islands Corporation announced their intent to initiate the transport of the LPG storage tank from St. Croix Container Port to the Estate Richmond facility. The transport and delivery operation will be completed, they say, in about 4 shipments that began this past Saturday through Friday, October 17th. All tanks will be transported free of propane gas. Now, on Friday, October 3rd, the first 2 of the 18 tanks stored at the container port was loaded onto a barge at the port. Early Saturday morning, October 4th, the barge began an approximately 7-hour voyage from the island's south shore to WAPA's Estate Richmond facility, then departed the Estate Richmond dock today to travel back to the container port to reload for the next shipment. Prices at the pumps are staying the same this week. Retail gas station owners can expect to pay a wholesale rate of $3.54 for regular at Hovenza's rack. The cost for premium is $3.74, and retailers will pay $3.46 for diesel. Now, those rates include the 14-cent tax Hovenza collects for the government. VI culture met Puerto Rico tradition Sunday as the 2 groups fused for the annual Fiesta en el Bate, or Family Fun Day. It was all part of the VI Puerto Rico Friendship Celebration happening this month. There was lots of food, vendors, and fun for the little ones and the not-so-little ones. And, of course, there was music and various performances. Awesome music there. Well, the monthly recognition of the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Council are opening their doors as it continues to the public Tuesday. As part of that recognition for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, residents can visit the Barron Spot office from 2 to 6 p.m. Numerous other activities are also planned this month, including the Clothesline Project this Saturday at Tutu Park Mall on St. Thomas. On Sunday, the Family Resource Center is hosting the annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes Men's Run Walk. That starts at 4 p.m. at the Adelita Cancrine School and goes to Subbase. Now on October 15th, tune in to Channel 12's Face to Face for a discussion on domestic violence. The Take Back the Night March and Candlelight Vigil will be held on both islands on October 23rd. On St. Thomas, it begins at 5:30 p.m. at Emancipation Garden. The St. Croix March begins at 6 p.m. in Frederiksted. Presentations are being held by reps from Brown University this evening at Antilles School. However, you can mark another one on your calendar. 3 locations, as 33 Catholic colleges and universities will be visiting St. Thomas on Wednesday, October 8th. Fairs will be held at Antilles School from 9 to 10:30 a.m., Charlotte Amalie High School from 11:20 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and Ivana Udoraken High School from 2 to 3 p.m. Some of the colleges in attendance include Villanova, University of Dallas, and Loyola University. Be sure to stick around. Your News2 Acura the forecast is coming up next.